what is anxiousness? And I was like, okay, cool. Anxiousness for me is the feeling of overwhelm. And so when I feel overwhelmed, that's what leads to anxiety. And then, okay, how do you not feel overwhelmed? You gain clarity.
This anxiousness feeling is preventing a lot of people from becoming their next healthy version of themselves. And it breaks my heart because they spend so much energy and time taking care of their friends, their family, their workers. And then somewhere along the line, they just forgot about themselves. Now it's like creeping up, and what's knocking at their doors, their blood pressure is high. They're not asleep. They're gaining more weight. They're coming to us and they're like, I want to lose weight. What eventually comes down the road is their inability to handle anxiousness. Looking back on the athletes, there's a huge indication that a person is always anxious is when they're like, don't tell me what the weight is. Why don't you want to know what the weight is? It's because they get iced out and they think they're gonna fail, and they don't want to fail. And not knowing the weight is gonna make them magically lift more. But in reality, they're just trying to trick themselves. The real battle is not how much the weight is on there. It's your ability to sit with like, this is 10 pounds heavier. If I fail, I fail. If I win, I win. That means the work that I did worked.
In that analogy, it's not the weight that's heavy, it's the thoughts. Your thoughts are heavier than the barbell.
I mean, I want you to pull maybe yourself or maybe one of your clients that are constantly anxious and why that can actually hold them back from becoming the best shape of their life. I'm anxious right now because I didn't have... I didn't.
You want a 3, 2, 1? Like, what's going on?
3, 2, 1. No, we're rocking this. I'm anxious right now because
I love it.
I'm anxious because I don't have a nickname for you today.
You should be anxious. How dare you?
So I stopped doing some of the intros because it was a massive bottleneck. So let's start right into the question. Nick, when was the last time you were anxious and what ended up happening?
When was the last time I was anxious and what ended up happening? So I had a calf contusion. Probably about 8 weeks ago.
Okay.
And it happened in jiu-jitsu. I did something I shouldn't have did, and the purple belt made me pay for it like he's supposed to, so that way I can learn my lesson because I'm hard-headed. Yeah. But it took me out, like physically really couldn't do much for 3 to 5 days. Yeah. And that's like with flossing it a bunch. And so when I was down, I felt massively anxious because then, all the what ifs, like what if I can't demo appropriately? What if I can't use my body? What if I can't play golf? What if I, right?
Yeah.
And so that is the last time I felt anxious is when I had my calf contusion like 6 to 8 weeks ago.
So good.
What about you? When's the last time you felt anxious?
Dude, this is just recently. Because my son has been losing a lot of soccer games lately. Right, we have been playing club, and I get anxious because I'm like, okay, I need to what do I do? There's so many options. I can try to look for another club. I can talk to the coach. I could complain more, which is typically what I do when I'm anxious. I just complain about it, but mostly to my wife. But eventually, you start relaying all of these things, and then you're like, there's so many of these things that I can't even control. And then that's really kind of once I establish that line, I think it really starts to set things in motion, and it gives you clarity on what you need to work on. So with your calf, how did you handle it? Did you end up fixing it? Did you what ended up happening?
Great question. So with my calf in particular, it was probably a solid 5 to 7 days before I could use it normally. That was just like a lot of recovery, a lot of flossing, a lot of keeping the heat on it, just keeping everything moving. But the beautiful part, so it's like everything in your life happens for you and not to you, right? Yeah. Because at that point I was running here, just going in a bunch of different directions, really chaotic, not really having any structure or being pointed anywhere. And so that day that happened on Saturday, I had to sit my ass down on the couch and I was there for the rest of the evening. And it was got back to the crib at 1. So I go to bed at 8:30. I had 7.5 hours where I was just chilling, couldn't do nothing. So I was feeling overwhelmed with all the what ifs. And so you'll never guess what I did.
What did you do?
I started playing with ChatGPT, bro. Right? I know, it's crazy.
This is a ChatGPT podcast now?
I'm telling you, man. I started playing with ChatGPT. And in this span of those, we'll say 7.5 hours, I got a bunch of different structures outside of my brain
Right.
or I got a bunch of chaos outside of my brain, and ChatGPT helped me structure it. And
Yeah.
my anxiety was through the roof in the early afternoon. And then after that, it's been mild ever since. I've came up with 5 different coaching programs, came up with a journaling club. I organized all of my clients and had their next 12 weeks planned out. I got my finances in order, figured out what I needed to do to like pay down my car loan, like
Yeah.
all of these different things,
Because you couldn't do anything with your.
because I couldn't do anything physical.
Wow.
I had to sit there for 7.5 hours.
So you just pivoted it.
And so, yeah, exactly. The universe gave me the opportunity to sit and be still. And so when I was sitting still, I put all that anxious energy, all that feeling of overwhelm. So that's one thing for me is anxiety. This is where I said this podcast and these questions come at a very wonderful time, because I was driving home from the golf course a couple of weeks ago, and I really came to the realization that I was like, okay, cool. What is anxiousness? And I was like, okay, cool. Anxiousness for me is the feeling of overwhelm.
Right.
Right. And so when I feel overwhelmed, that's what leads to anxiety. And then, okay, how do you not feel overwhelmed? You already said it earlier. You gain clarity.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I came to it. It's
So
not a
good.
ChatGPT podcast, but that's how I came to it. How
Yeah,
did you
no,
come
yeah.
to it?
I'm glad about this topic because we've really started to identify who we really want to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a handful of the audience members that are watching this that overwhelm is like their massive enemy. Anxiousness is their massive enemy.
Anemone.
Enemy.
Anemone. Those are the things from Finding Nemo, bro.
Yes.
Anemone.
I can't cut that one. We're going to keep that one in.
That was good.
But anyways,
Enemy.
yeah, enemy. This anxiousness feeling is preventing a lot of people from becoming their next healthy version of themselves.
You know what I think
Whether
it is?
it's
Analysis paralysis.
100%. And I see too many, and it breaks my heart because they spend so much energy and time taking care of their friends, their family, their workers, their employees. And then somewhere along the line, they just forgot about themselves. And then now it's like creeping up, and what's knocking at their doors, their blood pressure is high. They're not sleeping, right? They're gaining more weight. They're manifesting these injuries that are typically not there for years to come, right? And they're coming to us and they're like, I want to lose weight, or I want to get to this shape. And right off the bat, I'm like, let's do it. And what eventually comes down the road is their inability to handle anxiousness, right? To even understand it, or even to accept it. Like a lot of them don't even accept it. I was like, I'm never anxious. It's like, chill. We're all human beings, man. Right? So I want to talk about this particular emotion because you and I have really been exploring this, like this philosophy that happiness doesn't have to happen on accident. Happiness can be intentional. It can be on purpose. And if you understand how to pivot anxiousness into what you just did, I think you could do a lot, not only for your health, but your entire life as a whole, right? So let's talk about, I want you to pull maybe yourself or maybe one of your clients that are constantly anxious and why that can actually hold them back from becoming the best shape of their life.
So the example I came up with this as I was writing out, I'm a very tactile person. So like all the questions you sent me, I like to write them out. So then that way I can gather my thoughts around it. So the client example I have of this, very, very simple one, is box jumps.
Yeah.
Right? You take anybody, and I'll say dang near anybody, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can perform a box jump, right? We'll say with the exclusion of like major injuries. But normally when they come to us and they've been working with us for a while, they can perform a box jump. Some of them don't want to. Some of them haven't done it in X amount of time, right? And for those athletes, it's like, okay, cool, we can start you on soft black pads that we have that are like, we'll say maybe 6 inches, and we can just stack them up. There's 2 athletes I'm thinking about in particular. When it comes to box jumps, they're very uncomfortable. And So in that moment, they borrow the confidence from the coach.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got this all day. Like, it's not even a thing.
Yeah.
So we'll stack those mats up for them. And then it's fun to watch their anxiety and their what ifs start to take over, because then it's the whole, like, they'll do this and they'll do everything, but like their feet will leave the ground. But then if you can get them up there once, you can get them up there 20, 30, 40 times. Right. And it's just a matter of the duration between them. Like we had one of our members on Monday, we had a bunch of box jumps. We had like 50, 40, 30. And the first round, very sneakily, she stepped them all up. Right. And then I caught her out the corner of my eye, step up on like the last few, and I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. That's not going to happen. And so then the next round I went over and stood next to her, and I was like, jump up there. And then left it there just to see what she'd do. And she took like a full 60 seconds to do one box jump. And then I was like, okay, do it again. And this time it was like 45 seconds, do it again.
Right.
Okay, 30 seconds, do it again.
Do it again. Yeah.
Okay, 20 seconds, 10, 5, right? And it was really somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds. If she got closer to 10 seconds, it would be pushed a little longer. But if we keep her in that 5 to 10 second window, she did all the box jumps in the remaining part of the workout, which is 40 and 30.
Yeah.
So the what ifs, what if I miss, what if I can't jump up there, all the mental chaos, the mental noise. In those instances, right, you can borrow the confidence of your coach, right, provided you have a good relationship. You can borrow the confidence of the coach and supersede some of your anxieties, your feelings of overwhelm, some of those things in those moments. So that's the client example that I have for you.
So good. What you've pretty much stated there, at least for me, as you're reciting that story, is they essentially are limiting themselves because they're borrowing from their past failures. And they're using that past person's confidence to not try something new. And that something new can be the next unlock for them to get into a new shape. Because a box step up and a box jump, exponentially different in energy. And that's just one micro example, right? That can be as different as like, I've never ran before. Like, I'm too scared to run. I think you're awesome at that. You're like, no, you're running today. I know what you can do. We're just going to run 100 meters. We're just going to run 50 meters. And then you're like, oh, let's just run 75. Let's just run 100. And at some point, they start like building this confidence, and then they start borrowing. Instead of borrowing from the past, they're borrowing from their future potential. And then that's when you start kicking off and turning into something magical, right? The overwhelm, I'm glad that you said that. It wasn't just from like all of the things to-do list. The anxiousness can just be from one past failed experience. That's all of a sudden been this like...
You've had time to ruminate on it.
It just sits there. I've seen people just like in your story that box jump when they were 22, and then they never box jumped again until like 45. They're like, I scraped my shin. You know?
Yes.
And I mean, it could be another potential topic. They just didn't understand how to essentially understand failure or reflect from failure. They just took that failure like, that was painful, never do it again.
That's a microcosm for how they deal with conflict too. Because if I'm in a class and someone misses a box jump, cool. The rest of that round for a box jump, you can go for a walk, right? You can walk it off. You can skip it and then come back to it. But it's the old adage, right? You fall off the horse. What do you have to do?
Get back on.
You have to get back on the horse, right? Because if you don't, it'll just become this Mount Everest of a thing the longer the duration of time that you don't do it. So right after it happens is when it's the smallest. Yes, you may be scared, but we'll say your courage muscle is stronger than your fear muscle at that moment. So it's cool. You wreck your shin. Why did we wreck our shin? Okay, we got lazy on one box jump. Okay, cool. Yeah. Because we got lazy is why we wrecked our shin. So what do we have to do to change it? Well, I can't be lazy. Word. What else do you have to do? You got to pull your freaking knees to your nose, right? And so once we get clarity on why that happened, right, then we can break down a structure so then that way they can succeed at it and then succeed at it again and again and again and again and again and again.
I'm looking at I'm looking at it because at the moment I feel like they're foreshadowing failure, right? And then the difference is if you foreshadow like success, it's very similar energies. one prevents you from doing something, one makes you like, I'm going to go try this thing, which I think is really, really special.
It's the adage of, I'll change the wording here, but it'll make sense the same. They who say they can and they who say they can't are both usually right.
Right.
Because it carries the same amount of energy. It just depends on where you're directing it and how it's focused. So if you think you can't do a box jump, if you walk into me and say I can't, then cool. I'm going to leave you there. And usually if you walk and say you can't do something and I leave you there, then you're like, why is he leaving me here? Why is he not coaching me? I was like, because you said you can. You've already shut the door. Right. If you walk in shutting the door, cool. You're not coachable. Your glass is already full. We can't do anything with that. But if you walk in and don't say you can, if you walk in and it's in the realm of possibility, we can coach you from there all day. Yeah. Come in with your glass half full or empty. Let's go.
Right. Just be open to it.
Be open, because you can't close it off. People, when they use the word can't in 430, I just look at them dead in the eye. I was like, we don't use that word here. And they're like, I'm like, what good comes from using that word?
Right.
They're like, nothing. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's not I can't. It's I don't know how to yet. Cool. Once you don't know how to, let's identify what you don't know how to do, what we got to be more efficient in, and then just go bang it out.
Yeah. The can't word blocks out millions of other opportunities just by that one word.
Yes.
So just by calling it out, really just it's almost a blow to them a lot of times.
And so what I will tell you is there are some people that have not come back to my class because I have told them that word does not exist during 4:35, 36:30 in the evenings. I told them that one time. I've never seen them again, which is, I hope they're doing well. They're in different hours and different classes. But when you come to class with me, right, especially if we have some sort of relationship, we're there to grow. Are we? And when people hit me with I can't, I'm like, okay, cool. Are we here to grow or are we here to stay the same?
Right.
And normally I just leave that to them and I let them ruminate on it. And if they're here to stay the same, they can stay the same for that day. They usually don't come back.
Yeah.
But if they're there to grow, cool. That is what I'm still in this field for.
Yeah.
I want to be around people who want to grow, even if it's 0.5%, right? Even if you did 10 box step ups one day and you do 11 the next day, work. That's growth. That's all we're looking for. You did step ups one workout, next workout you're doing box jumps. That's just, we're here to grow. We're not here to stay the same.
Right.
So can't is you limiting yourself and living within the boundaries that you've set for yourself within your own mind.
So good. I just really quick, as you guys are listening to Nick, and you might think he's like militant. He's actually very opposite. Okay, but what makes Nick great, and I think if you can borrow some of these three criterias for yourself, I think one, you'll reduce a lot of anxiety to a point that you just become confident at everything. One thing that Nick does is he has the ability to create change, and change is presented as a challenge. And it's not just let's just jump on the box that's 30 inches. He does it in small pockets, right? We'll challenge the air squat maybe first. They can only do 3. It's like, I'm going to get this person to do 30 unbroken. It gives you more confidence that they can jump 6 inches, right? Another one that Nick does is he applies connection. So where are they in their life? Do they need that challenge right now, or do they need challenge on a separate area? So Nick, while it may seem that you're telling people to jump more, you've challenged me in recovery. I don't need you to jump a 30-inch box. I need you to floss your leg for 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Right? So there's different forms of challenge. I think a lot of times when we perceive anxiety, sometimes anxiety is something of a hard to do. Sometimes the challenge is, I need you to stop doing this, and I need you to slow down and do that.
Especially within the gym, it's we perceive it as a physical hard thing, right? We're here to do hard things, right? So we perceive it as a physical hard thing. Sometimes it's a mentally hard thing. Sometimes it's an emotionally hard thing.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it's not physically hard. You're more than capable, but the story you're telling yourself about the hard thing is making it worse, or the feelings that you have in relation to the physically hard thing make it worse. So it is not always physical. It's more so mental and emotional. And I had another point, but I forgot. Continue. I was right there and it was good. Oh, what were we talking about?
Okay. So,
yes.
Okay, yeah. I want to add one more thing on the anxiousness, because if you are anxious, so one, you're not going to do things that are new oftentimes. Another thing that I've seen with people who are anxious is they stop measuring things because
Mm-hmm.
they are, one, I really think consciously they're just afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And then the numbers will show that they failed and they don't know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
So what they stop doing is they stop tracking their steps, they stop tracking their calories, they stop tracking their macros. While you don't have to do that, I think they just stop doing it and then they stop everything else around it as well.
How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Right? So, or they just stop tracking their workouts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, assuming that, and what ends up happening is they half-fast everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then what ends up happening is they see an experience for like a year with no change and they just quit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that is another form of what's causing a lot of this anxiousness.
Mm-hmm.
They're just too scared to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you want to add anything on that, but
So it's I liken that to, why do you perceive that there's a time cap for a workout?
yeah.
Why do you perceive? What do you think? Why do you think there is a time cap for a workout?
You know, I mean, for us, it's just like time management for our classes.
Okay.
Like in the event that the coach has no idea how to prescribe,
Okay.
there's a hard cap so no one's working out
Okay.
like extended, right?
What about it from the athlete's perspective? Why is there a time cap? Because I think
I
it
think there's
correlates
a
into what we're
safety
talking
net
about.
to it for them,
Okay. I would
right?
agree. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
So I think this is one of the things is like when people are like, okay, what's the cap? Cool, it's 25 minutes. Okay, you gonna let
Yeah.
us go over? No, I'm not gonna let you go over. Why?
If you finish it.
Because it's one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Tying it into the failure, right?
Yeah.
So it's either you're gonna work your ass off and you're gonna finish it right up to the cap or under,
Yeah.
or you're gonna work your ass off and get capped.
Right.
And if you get capped, it's better for you because then it lights a little fire underneath your ass.
For sure.
Right? It gives you a little bit more motivation to finish the next one.
Yeah.
Or the next time you see that workout, you're going to go, oh, okay, cool. I only got, if it's a 15-round workout, 25-minute time cap, 20 minutes. If it's a 25-minute time cap, 15-round workout, I only got to 9 rounds. The next time it pops up, how much harder are you going to push yourself to
Yeah.
get 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe even 15 rounds?
Yeah.
That's why we have the time cap. Because if you don't adequately push yourself to be able to finish within a time frame, you have to fail. But it teaches you resilience against failing, right? Because every time you fail, you end up growing. Most people don't want to fail. They have a lot of anxiety around failing, have a lot of anxiety around the leaderboard or whatever. And what people don't understand is that you're actually doing yourself a disservice if you don't fail. It's like when we're testing 1 reps.
Yeah.
If you test 1 rep for 25 minutes and you haven't failed a rep, you're not even close to what your real 1 rep is because you haven't failed. Or when you're retesting, if you don't fail when you're retesting, you're not pushing yourself.
Yeah.
Right? There's 5 to 20% more on the back half that you have in you that you're just not accessing.
It's so good. I'm like looking back on the athletes. There's a huge indication that a person is always anxious is when they're like, don't tell me what the weight is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm like, why don't you want to know what the weight is? It's because they get iced out and they think they're going to fail and they don't want to fail. Like, and not knowing the weight is going to make them magically lift more. But in reality, they're just trying to trick themselves. And I think that's like one of the biggest. You are significantly limiting yourself when you're trying to trick yourself that you're lifting more by not knowing how much you're lifting. The real battle is not how much the weight is on there. It's your ability to sit with like, this is 10 pounds heavier. If I fail, I fail. If I win, I win. That means the work that I did worked. So it's really interesting. I see that all the time and I'm like, oh, you're preventing yourself again. You ever get those athletes? They're like, don't tell me what weight I'm on. Don't tell me what weight I'm on.
And in that analogy, it's not the weight that's heavy, it's the thoughts. Your thoughts are heavier than the barbell.
All right, there's the first one of Nick's bombs right there. It's a clipper.
Right? Like, if I give you the weight and you don't know what it is, you rep it out, right? You do 1 rep. It's really easy. You didn't get stuck at any point in time. But I give you the exact same circumstance. I give you the exact same weight and I tell you what it is, but you get stuck or you stand it up slowly. It's not the weight that was heavy. It was the thoughts you put around it that made it heavy.
I'm just still milking from it. You can't drop things like that and just like go to the next thought and story. Jeez.
I gotta touch up on something earlier. So the beautiful part about what we do is we're in the confidence building game, right? So kind of
100%.
circling back to box jumps a little bit, right? They can, and this applies throughout all of fitness. They can borrow our confidence as a coach or as a personal trainer, as whatever, right? But we're in the confidence building game because no matter where you start, it's infinitely scalable. We'll start you at one scale. We'll build you up a little bit. Then we're going to make you uncomfortable, right? So then we're going to find the next tier. So you're going to go from confidence up here, maybe confidence back down here. Not all the way to zero because we've already known that we can overcome it. And so what that does is you get that little bit of growth. And then it's like, okay, cool, made it harder. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, you just know you can do it. So just turn your brain off and do it again, right? And you build it up, and then it gets a little bit harder. Right. Exactly. And so that's all we're doing is we're in the confidence building game. But just like, the NASDAQ or anything like that, growth is not exponential. Right. It is ups and it is downs. It is ups and it is downs. It is ups and it is downs. But as long as it's always trending upward, that's ideally what we're looking for. Yeah. So we're in the I build it up to break it down. I build it up to break it down. I build it up to break it down. Yeah. So like for the athletes with the pads, cool. I'm going to let you get real comfortable with the pads. Then I'm going to take the pads away. Why? Because we got to get you to go back and understand what your capability is as an individual. You're way more capable than those black pads.
So good. Dude, I'm ruminating on some of these things that you're saying. The ones that are extremely anxious and afraid to fail, they've had great coaches. They've had great coaches to getting them to win. What they lacked of was coaches to get them to learn how to fail. And what's interesting is when we start seeing some of the elite athletes excel over and over and over and over again, it's as they seek like wisdom from moments when they felt like, I didn't get this one. What should I do next? Right. And then the other ones are kind of shy. Like, I didn't really do that good, and I'm not going to tell you about it. Right. And I love how you said we are in the game and we are in the business of building confidence. And the way you can build confidence is understanding how to be coached through failure. And if you understand this skill set of like coaching through failure, you're going to break some of this anxiety issues, because at the end of the day, you're just anxious that you're going to fail. No one's anxious that I'm going to win, right? I'm too anxious. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to get my 7th NBA ring. You know what I mean? They're excited for that. Okay, so let's talk about some pragmatics here.
Okay.
Because you did a framework probably very similar to kind of my framework when I'm anxious, because I want them to walk away with something so tangible, so easy that they can replicate, that the moment they're anxious again, they can pull what you just did and you turned something so catastrophic to something so fruitful. And that is like, it's a weird skill, but if you can understand how to master this skill, you can do some crazy things with anxiety. And if you unlock that, you're not going to only unlock your health stuff, but everywhere else. So how did you do it? How did you your framework?
So just think about it this way, right? And this has come from conversations that I've had with Coach Madison and her husband Taylor around her anxiety. Within the past, I don't know how long, she's come to understand that her anxiety is just pent up energy. So if she does something with the energy, her anxiety goes away. And when she's feeling mad anxious, it's because she has too much pent up energy. You got to do something with it, right? So based off of that premise, understanding that the feelings of overwhelm and the feelings of anxiety are just energy with nothing to do, first get massive clarity. I think that's interesting that we didn't even talk about this, but that was your first one, right? You said clarity. We hadn't even talked. Clarity is my first one. Gain massive clarity, right? And that can be asking yourself the same question 7 times in a row, 5 to 7, so that way you can get to the depth of it. That can be writing it out. That can be talking it through. That can be whatever. But get massive clarity, right?
What does Nick do? Because I want to know what you do.
What do I do?
So how do you get your clarity?
So for me personally, I write everything down. Right. Or I will have conversations. Okay. Right. I'll have conversations with loved ones that I trust who will hold space for me. So that way I can ruminate on my own thoughts and have them come back to me. Okay. But ideally writing, like journaling's absolutely invaluable. Yeah. And then the second thing is, where did I put it? Oh yeah, massive clarity. And then once I get clear about whatever is giving me anxiety, I had some sort of structure around it. Right. Then after I add the structure, it doesn't even have to be perfect structure, right? Perfect doesn't exist. It just has to be some sort of structure. Do A, B, C, D. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Then take that energy right, that you feel from your overwhelming and your anxiety, and just turn it towards the structure. Just give it
So
massive
good.
action,
Yeah.
right? That's one thing that thinking of anxiety or the past, we'll say, month has taught me is action has never been my problem. I'll take massive action all day long, but I'll take it in all different directions and I won't go anywhere. But if I can add a little structure to the massive action that I'm willing to take, well, now we're off to the races.
So good. I can actually relate. Okay, so the first thing that I do is very similar. Build clarity. And the way I do clarity, there's a lot of different ways, but lately I've been it's really simple. I feel like my parents told me this and you're like, no, that can't work. What can you control and what can you not control?
The list, 2 cents.
Right. And in your case, it was like, well, I can't control the healing time, but I can do my flossing. I can do my sleep. I can do my recovery. You list all of these things out, and it's so it's so relieving to know what you have in your control. Because a lot of times, the biggest things that are weighted are often things that I can't control. I'm like, why am I even worrying about that? I don't have the ability to control the scoreboard on the game, but I have the ability to control practice, right? I don't have the complete ability to control my revenue, but I can control how many times I present offers, how many times I can increase my rates, how many times I could do all of these things. And it really, it places it down into like this nicely like split paper. And then you're like, I can breathe for a little bit. But this is what I did in the past that is now I'm like, kind of like your problem. I did too many actions. I took all of those things that I can control and I did all of them. Right?
Controlled them all.
Which what ends up happening is you get burnt out.
Yep, 100%.
Right? It's a different type of anxiety. So you get burnt out. So I added a second filter to this. I do the 80-20 rule. So if I have 10 things, there's 2 things in there that are going to be massive needle movers. Or if there's 20 things, there's 4 things there. I try not to do 4 things still. I think that's still a little too much. So let's just say you have 10 things that's in your control. 2 of them, if you're like, if I could only do 2 of them, which one is going to completely reduce my anxiety? And then you do those 2. So for one, when I had my anxiety around the coaches and trying to move them, right? I can't control the scoreboard. So I understood that. But what I had control over was I could have a conversation with the coach. What's the future? What's going on? How come we're not getting the wins? What's your intention at practice? Questions around that. So I was like, okay, that's going to move the needle for me. I can also talk to thousands of other coaches of everyone that I know. And then I just put those 2 off to the side, right? And I just did. And that's the second part. The final part to that is if I could break it down into its most critical steps, so like 3 little mini steps, what would that be? First step was to text the coach. Right? Hey, would love to have coffee, 15 minutes. That was my first step, right? The second step is like, hey, these are just some of the things that my son is saying. And then this is my intentions moving forward. So those are my big 3. So I broke something down that was technically a big move, but also done it to a way where it seemed so simple. And what's interesting, so now that I do this more, is you create these massive momentums, and these momentums create massive bursts. And on hindsight, you think I would be neglecting the other 8 things that are creating anxiety. What happens is I tackle some of those other ones, and then I have all this energy to tackle number 3, tackle number 4, tackle number 5. And the next thing you know, I'm doing 2-a-days again in the gym, right? Because in the past, when I'm so anxious sometimes, I neglect my health. I neglect my fitness. I actually just stop eating, right? I stop eating, which is not good for me because I'm not getting any muscle. You saw my legs. You're like, bro, you're anxious. What's going on? You're not filling out your quads anymore. But yeah, that's like my little framework. I feel like you do some version of that, which is really cool.
100%. And we've never had this conversation before, which
Yeah.
that's what I think is the most interesting part is we've never had this conversation before, but yet we found very similar frameworks, very similar systems to be able to get on the other side. So yeah, no.
Yeah, you chat GPT'd it.
Bro, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, that is the game changer.
Yeah, so just make sure you add that filter because you said you've done just like I don't have a problem taking actions, because I made that mistake before where you see all of the things you can control and you just hammer it down. And I think that's I think it's a good lesson to learn too, to see what that is, and then you start to understand managing burnout. But I think that's what's really, really cool about this. So if you guys are listening to this right now and you are someone that is juggling hundreds of things, you know, your family, your kids, your business, your coworkers, your friends, bring some clarity to your work, write it down, or even ask ChatGPT to write it down for you. Like, you really can.
Word vomit.
And then you could even say, hey, Chat, what can I control and what can I not control? And it'll probably split it for you, right? And once you do that, you could also ask Chat, out of this 20%, where do you think I'm probably going to have the biggest mover? And probably do that for you too.
100%. And the beautiful part about that is, like, what it gives you, you'll know whether or not it's going to move the needle the most for you.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to sit there and think about, well, will it do this? Will it do this? It'll bang out two things and it'll give them to you, and you'll be like, well, that doesn't feel like it would move the most. This feels like it would move the most, and this feels like it would move the most.
Yeah.
Perfect. Listen to your intuition. Run with it.
And here's what's really interesting too. We have all these failures and anxiety around, like, what's not going to work. It rarely comes true.
Facts.
It rarely comes true. And then when it does come true, sometimes it's more of a gift than a curse. And you're like, oh, this actually feels better than I thought. You're underestimating what you can do. You're underestimating the resilience of your mind and your body of handling that failure. Because when it does happen, I'm telling you, you're stronger than you think, which is often like, chill out. And how do you know that? Ask yourself the last time you failed and it did fail, and then what was the outcome of that? And then borrow from that. And quit borrowing from, like, this future self that's weak, because you're not weak.
Stop borrowing energy from worry.
Yeah.
Borrow energy from wisdom or courage.
So good. You want to add anything on this?
On
this little framework?
This good. Just try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. That's all I just give
try
it a
the
whirl.
framework.
Give it a whirl.
Yeah.
Try it out. See what happens.
Guys, if you need help with anything, we are opening our ability to help you guys. And if you want access to work with Nick or access to work with me, we'll put a link below. And you need a little bit of coaching on this mindset side of things and being intentional of becoming happier, 1% happier. We would love to work with you guys. It'll be on the little show notes below. And as always,